Nidalee is known as the super mobile, one-shotting assassin who loves playing against squishy champions and often loses to CC or tanks. But I have found a Grandmaster player who has fixed all of these issues with a new tank build, as well as tank runes and a new role, letting him play aggressive for poke in lane, tank tower and dive enemies, then split push using her mobility with low risk, and actually frontline for his team, even as a cat. This video is sponsored by POROFESSOR. It's a great overlay app for League of Legends that can help you out of game as well as in-game. But POROFESSOR also has a looking for game tab to help you find players to queue up with. You can sort by region, language, role, or even if you want to find friends for normal games, a duo for solo queue, or to find teammates for the next Clash tournament to become the next EDG. You can sort by rank to pick people, or you can make your own profile to get picked up by a group. With POROFESSOR, when you're in Champ Select, whenever you pick a champion, POROFESSOR finds the best possible runes, importing it directly to the client. In Champ Select, POROFESSOR analyzes your teammates, so you can see if players are on their main champions, or maybe they're first timing in ranked and you can get out of there. Then in loading screen, it does the same for the enemies, so you can see if anyone is vulnerable to ganks, or even likely to invade. This game, Tarek has the tag, and then he does invade, and it gets us a free first blood, an instant advantage from having POROFESSOR. Whether you want to find new friends to play with, or analyze which parts of the game you need to improve if you want to climb, POROFESSOR is perfect, and it's completely free, so download it now from the link in the description. Our player today is named Eshyn, and he started playing Nidalee all the way back in Season 3, playing top lane. He was a big fan of fighting games, so he loved the isolated 1v1 of top lane. Nidalee was his fighter of choice, with a huge amount of ways to outplay enemies, with ranged attacks, melee attacks, long range abilities, short range abilities, a low cooldown dash, traps and a heal, anything you could ever need to win a fight. With all of these options, Eshyn never got bored of her, playing hundreds of games of Nidalee every season, 850 ranked games in Season 4, up to roughly 1,600 in Season 7. Playing a hard champion, his mechanics improved, his laning was perfected, and the strategy kept developing. From creating new level 1 plans to finding ways to win bad matchups, he would not stop until it was perfect. After 2,100 games played in Season 8, he passed his peak and for the first time hit Grandmaster. Playing against challenger solo queue stars and pro players, he became recognized for his off-meta style, with mixed opinions. In Season 10 and 11, Eshyn kept playing even while working in a pharmacy full-time. This season, AD top laners took over, with Gore Drinker and Sundara champions dominating Nidalee. He needed some changes or he would never make it above Diamond. With the new tank build and new tank rune page, his early game improved, grabbing control of the lane and not letting go, climbing his way back up to Grandmaster. But why does he play tank? Usually tanks have lots of CC to help their team. Nidalee has none, and can she even kill anyone? Well, the days where Nidalee could one-shot people with spears are gone. Seasons ago, full AP Nidalee could spam Qs and even get kills with this one ability, so Riot decided that needed to change. They did this by reducing all of her AP scalings, including her spear and the rest of her combo, but the base damage of all these abilities is still very good, since Nidalee needed to be a good jungler, even early game when she didn't have any items. So Tank Nidallee takes advantage of these high base damage abilities, while also being a much more safe pick. In fights, if a full AP Nidalee went in, trying to land a full combo, the enemy may still not quite die, or Nidalee could get hit by a CC and die herself. Tank Nidallee still lets her die backline and get these kill combos, but this build is much safer to get in, easily land all of your skills and then get out again. At level 1, Eshyn is already taking advantage of his 7 skills, walking to lane to place a set of traps. He places these down in a few specific locations. Firstly, placing traps that will spot the enemy jungler if they try to gank him. These go off very quickly, so Nidalee has time to react and move back. He also places traps in the lane, along the wall, away from the minion wave. These are an extra tool that sets up his W jump reset, as well as repeatedly activating his keystone, Grasp of the Undying. At level 1, Nidalee has her W for the traps and the safety of her jump. He pokes with auto attacks, proccing Grasp as much as possible. Taking Q at level 2, Eshyn can look for spears for even more poke, using W jump to reach enemies, comboing them with Cougar Q and then retreating, never letting them extend the trade. He's the one with the long range and the low cooldown jump to disengage. He chooses when the trade starts, how much damage the enemy takes, and when the trade ends. ends. At level 3 he power spikes. Nidalee now has her E and grasp. He will now always have more sustain than the enemy top laner, so he can use as many ranged auto attacks as he wants, as well as 0 mana cost Cougar abilities, slowly chipping away at the enemy's health bar. Importantly, there's also an interaction with Nidalee, where if you throw a ranged auto attack with your grasp proc and change forms into Cougar while it's in the air, you will count as a melee champion, so grasp will give you more max health, more healing, and more damage. And this tiny trick really adds up throughout laning phase. Nidalee keeps poking and healing herself. Importantly, the enemy runs out of resources before she does, meaning she can heal, but they stay low health, having to base or risk staying against a Nidalee who's still full health. If enemies do not base, the Nidalee is set up for an easy tower dive, using spear into jump and then comboing with Cougar form to finish off the kill, tanking the tower with her early resistances from runes. If enemies play safe and base, Nidalee has demolish, so can use the time to grab tower plates and still get an advantage. The only two things to worry about when you're playing this strategy are any ability that the enemy has to jump on you, or the enemy jungler ganking you. Eshyn solves the first problem by saving his W jump for the enemy's mobility, dodging their engage and then turning the fight around. To avoid ganks, Eshyn keeps placing these traps along with wards to ensure he is safe to overextend. If he is ganked, the Nidalee W is a great escape tool. For him, it's just another situation where he gets to outplay enemies and test his mechanics. Nidalee top might be the ultimate Alcove Gamer, using this ability to jump walls. With no other top laner having such a low cooldown, 0 cost jump ability, they can't follow her. Basing for his first item, Eshyn buys FROSTFIRE Gauntlet. This item is amazing on Nidalee. Firstly, it gives tankiness and AoE damage that lets him beat any squishy top laner very easily, but also the passive. In Season 11, Nidalee had incredible synergy with this item, with her auto attack slowing enemies, making it much easier for her to land her spear and thus the rest of her combo. But in Season 12, the item is even better, now also dealing damage based on the enemy's max health. So this item actually does some strangely high damage. Mid-game, Eshyn focuses on being a split pusher, using this 1v1 poke power over and over again to get control of a lane, push up and look for advantages. Even in games like this one where he is super far behind, he's actually 1 and 5 this game, he can still go into a side lane and use this crazy base damage to combo an enemy a couple of times, tanking their burst and winning the 1v1. With the strong Waveclear from her Cougar abilities, Nidalee can now easily push wave to move to a team fight. In team fights, Eshyn wants to be the first person who arrives, so he can set up his strategy. Eshyn decides the next objective they're going to fight over and arrives early, placing as many traps as possible until it spawns. He places these traps in choke points that the enemies will walk through to get to the fight. The purpose of these is not for damage. The damage is tiny even if it was an AP build. No, the purpose of these is to give him extra jump resets in the fight, allowing him to easily reach the backline. As Tank Nidallee, any of these marks can give him the opportunity to jump in. He doesn't need to be in the backline stalling for his teammates. He can be the one to find this engage and jump in, but the best way for Tank Nidallee to fight is very slowly. Nidalee loves slow fights where she can land spears, auto attack for poke, and heal to keep her team at full health. You don't want to rush to start a fight. Since this is solo queue, when his teammates run out of patience and engage, his focus changes. He can still dive the enemy backline, using the tankiness from his items to stay alive long enough to get multiple combos onto the backline and get a kill. Nidalee can use the FROSTFIRE slow to disrupt enemies, trapping them in a bad position with undodgeable CC. If the enemy frontline comes forward, he can slow them in front of his team so they can focus them down. If instead his team gets engaged on, he then plays to peel for his AD carry, changing to a frontline trying to block skills, as well as slowing the enemy with autos, and fully focusing them with his damage. Surprisingly, the best counter to this strategy is Teemo. Teemo has a tiny hitbox and gets movement speed from his W, making spears impossible to land. He also has a blind which blocks your Cougar form Q since it counts as an auto attack. Eshyn usually bans Irelia instead, as she's much more popular and still very hard to beat due to her stun and Q resets to chase you down. For his Tank Nidallee build for this season and next season, he starts Doran's Shield most games. He can instead start Doran's Ring against immobile champions that he can easily kite, but Doran's Shield is safer if the enemies can jump to you. His first item is actually boots. Weirdly, these might be the highest damage item he can buy early on, because they allow him to position better for more poke, and back off much faster to avoid the enemy trading. Early Oblivion Orb is good to make his sustain advantage even bigger, but only buy it against these champions. For his mythic, FROSTFIRE Gauntlet is the go-to for this build. If you then want more tank, the new item, Winter's Approach, might be a good option as well. It builds out of a tier, stacking your mana, and then converts to Fimble Winter, which gives you a shield every time you immobilize an enemy, working with your mythic, and this shield increases in size by 80% if another enemy is nearby, so it'll be great for frontline team fights. If you instead want damage, Cosmic Drive is good for cooldown reduction in team teamfights, or Lichbane for burst and tower taking, finishing the build with Demonic Embrace. Eshyn is super excited about the Season 12 changes. Unfortunately, Nidalee wasn't a main character in Arcane, so she didn't get any quality of life buffs like the others did, but Eshyn's build has been directly buffed thanks to the tank item changes, as well as new tank items being added, as well as Demonic Embrace being buffed, now giving you ability power based on 2% of your bonus health, which works insanely well with all the health that this build can give you. For his runes, Grasp is vital, Demolish for split push, and secondary Celerity for bonus movement speed from Nidalee's passive, and Mana Flow Ban so you can sustain your poke. Eshyn has a Twitch stream linked in the description, and thanks again to Porofessor for sponsoring this video. Please download it from the link below.